Imagine this, you're in a lab. Electrodes are attached to your head, measuring your brain activity. A scientist gives you a simple task. Press a button whenever you feel like it. Seems easy, right? You wait a few seconds, then, click, you press the button. Here's the weird part. The machine knew you were going to press that button before you did. In fact, your brain made the decision several hundred milliseconds before you felt like you made it. Let that sink in for a moment. Your brain decided before you did. Welcome to one of the most unsettling ideas in neuroscience. You might not have free will, at least not the way you think you do. Let's rewind to 1983. Neuroscientist Benjamin Libet ran a now-famous experiment. He asked participants to flick their wrists whenever they wanted, while watching a special clock and noting the precise moment they became aware of their decision to move. Meanwhile, EEG sensors monitored the readiness potential, a signal in the brain that builds up before a physical action. Here is what he found. The readiness potential appeared about 300 milliseconds before the participants reported deciding to move. In other words, their brains were already gearing up to act before they became consciously aware of choosing to act. And it wasn't a one-off fluke. The study has been repeated and refined many times. In some cases, brain activity predicted decisions up to 7 seconds in advance. Now that's not just weird, that's chilling. Let's break this down. We all walk around thinking we're making conscious choices. What to eat, when to speak, who to date, what to believe. But if science can detect our decisions before we consciously make them, are we really in control? Or are we just watching the movie of our lives while the script was already written behind the scenes? That's what philosophers and scientists are still grappling with. But it gets deeper. Neuroscience shows that most of what you do isn't driven by your conscious mind. Your brain is like an iceberg. Only about 5% of it is above the surface in conscious awareness. The rest is subconscious. Patterns, instincts, habits, emotional responses, running on autopilot. When you decide to swerve to avoid a pothole, your conscious brain takes credit. But in reality, your subconscious already triggered the move before you decided anything. It just told you a story after the fact to make it feel like your idea. That post hoc storytelling is called confabulation. It is how your brain protects your sense of self and coherence, even when you were not actually in the driver's seat. But wait, does this mean everything is predetermined? That we're just meat robots with no agency? Not exactly. There's a big debate in science and philosophy between hard determinism, compatibilism, and libertarian free will, not the political kind. Hard determinists say everything is cause and effect. Your choices are just illusions created by physics and neurons. Compatibilists believe free will and determinism can coexist, because what we call free might just mean we acted voluntarily without coercion, even if our brain set the stage. Libertarians, the philosophical kind, argue that free will is real and consciousness can override the rules. But here's the catch. The more science peeks into the brain, the more it leans toward determinism. Even when you think you're being spontaneous, choosing sushi over pizza, texting your ex, or hitting snooze, you might just be responding to hidden variables, past experiences, genetics, hormones, even gut bacteria. Okay, so are we doomed? Are we just puppets with no strings? Not quite. There's a twist. Some researchers believe that awareness of your subconscious tendencies gives you some power over them. Think of it like this. You are not driving the car directly, but maybe you can grab the wheel once in a while, adjust the GPS, or at least choose the playlist. Mindfulness, reflection, therapy. These are tools that help you notice the patterns running your life. And once you see the code, you can start to rewrite it, slowly. Also, some scientists argue that free will is more about degrees than absolutes. You may not be free from cause and effect, but you're still freer than a worm or a thermostat. That counts for something. And here's a final curveball. Quantum physics throws a wrench into all this determinism. At the smallest scales, particles don't behave predictably. There's randomness built into the universe. Some thinkers have speculated, wildly to be clear, that consciousness might be tapping into this quantum weirdness, giving us tiny windows of freedom. That's a stretch, and far from proven. But it shows that we still don't fully understand the mind, or choice, or reality. So, where does that leave us? Maybe you're not choosing as freely as you thought. Maybe your decisions are just the surface ripple of deep brain waves you didn't see coming. But maybe, just maybe, knowing that gives you a strange kind of freedom. Because the moment you realize your thoughts aren't always your own, you can start asking why you think them. And that's where the real magic begins. You may not control every thought, but you can choose which ones to listen to. Now that's a choice worth making. If this twisted truth about free will made you rethink everything, hit that subscribe button for more mind-bending insights. And drop a comment. Do you think free will is real, or are we just running on autopilot? Let's talk about it.